Hello, I'm Gabriel Hollander. I'm here on behalf of Mining Magazine with Tarja Strahlman, who is Venture Lead at OREN for Shell. We're here to talk about digitization in mining and what OREN have been doing in that area. Hi, Tarja.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Can you talk a little about what role digitalization plays in the mining decarbonisation agenda?
Yeah, happy to. And thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here. In terms of context, we know that mining companies are under pressure to decarbonize. Net zero targets have been met. They represent around 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But we also know that rare earth minerals and these elements are critical to power the energy transition. But the pressure from customers, investors, society is pretty clear to do this in the most sustainable way possible. So the kind of pressures that the sector is meeting is to supply these minerals in a more sustainable way, but actually processes are becoming more energy intensive. Mines are deeper, the ore quality is worsening, and cost of capital can be 20 to 25% higher for companies with lower ESG scores. So you have this kind of triple threat of increasing demand, reducing or increasing operational costs, and net zero targets and kind of pressures from that perspective. So to meet those three challenges, we actually believe that you need to adopt innovations and modifications to current processes. And one of the fastest way to address all three is actually through digital solutions. And I think the further case for digital solutions, not only kind of flexibility and the speed, but is the fact that mining companies have lots and lots of data and are at different stages of either digitization, so actually making that or moving that data from manual gathering or processing to digital, and then digitalization, which means you actually utilize and analyze that data. And again, whether it's operational efficiencies, sustainability metrics, the only way to improve all of that is through utilizing that data, automating processes through digital solutions. So there's a pretty clear link to us in terms of decarbonization, digital, as well as how that drives cost reduction and operational efficiency. And we are seeing that customers are kind of moving from building decarbonization strategies to kicking those projects off, starting pilots in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years. We've spoken to the industry and we know that across the value chain, 80% of the mining customers' pain points are actually very similar in that they need to decarbonize and they want to implement digitalization. So if I can mention an example on emissions management, for instance, which is a kind of a key foundational process to get under control, emissions management is actually an operational risk, and sustainability KPIs generally are increasingly being set as operational control parameters in the mining sector. But you cannot track these KPIs without having access to automated, reliable sustainability and operational metrics. And again, by streamlining and automating that process, you're actually meeting operational improvements, saving manual effort, which in turn leads to cost savings. So I think there's a pretty clear linkage, and we're thrilled to be a part of solving this problem.
And that centrality of data gathering and data analysis, that does bring us on to what OREN does specifically and how it drives digitization. Can you talk a little about how OREN works and its role?
Yes, absolutely. So the OREN value proposition is threefold. So first of all, we have the OREN data platform, which we've built together with IBM. OREN is a partnership between OREN is a partnership between Shell and IBM. And the data platform ingests, integrates, processes data pretty much from any source of any quality to help automate that process and give better insights that support better decision making. On top of the foundational data platform, we have built OREN Intelligent Solutions, which are then the resulting integrated products or sort of apps that sit on top of the data platform that we implement at customer sites on a SaaS basis, so software as a service. And these are then the solution that actually solve the problems or the challenges that the customer has around decarbonization. And the third element is that we work together with proven technologies that are already out there to complement and form the component parts of these intelligent solutions. But through utilizing the data platform and the integration capability, we can augment what those solutions can contribute and solve. So what we really do is, like I said, bring all three together. And by being very modular and flexible in how we can customize these solutions for the customer, we can really tackle pretty complex problems that can span across the value chain through providing better insight and, like I said, drive better decision making at the end of the day to kick off the right kinds of actions and solutions.
And obviously, the digitalization is only one of a number of levers to aid decarbonisation. How do you see it sitting amongst all the other levers that the players in the sector can use? And why is it important, do you think, to do it now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think digitalization often is an enabler, right? So you're utilizing data better to then drive, better action. And the way in the OREN case specifically that we support the broader decarbonization agenda is that, like I mentioned, we are a collaborative venture between Shell and IBM. And specifically through our association with Shell, we actually work in tandem with Shell and the kind of broader portfolio of decarbonization solutions that they're able to provide. So these can range from biofuels to hydrogen to carbon capture and storage, carbon trading if offsetting is something that the customer is interested in, renewable energies. And what OREN does is we're the digital pillar, if you like that, across that portfolio. But the reason that we are focusing on digital solutions on top of those, I guess, to an extent, emerging technologies, is that one, digital is relatively quick to implement, and they're available in the short term, while the technical readiness levels and really even having supply and manufacturing at scale of some of those, the other technologies I mentioned, can take time. And two, like I said, the digital solutions can actually enhance and enable that transformation journey for the mining customer. So a good example could be there's a few initiatives ongoing to look at electrifying a mine site. And what that means in practice is that you'll have parts of the operation of the mine site, like for instance, haul trucks, that suddenly need to talk to the grid, need to be connected to the energy management system on site, basically to make sure that all of the parts of the operations have the electrons flowing in at the right time and you're not overloading the grid. And the way you do that is actually integrating new sources of data and operational activity to the mine management systems. And again, digital is the way that you do that. So this is a completely new requirement and sort of a new area for mining customers. It's adding complexity, but I think also it creates opportunities to then look at, well, how do you manage, for instance, in this example, energy management on site, and how do you optimize to make sure that everything's running the most efficient as possible and utilizing that energy in a smart way.
It sounds like OREN can dovetail with with existing solutions. But is it also important to differentiate itself against other existing technologies? And if so, how does it do that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that kind of the two overriding principles that we have within OREN is collaboration. So I mentioned already, we work with Shell and IBM, we work with the third-party providers, and with the customers, obviously, to enable quite custom builds if that's needed. But the other aspect is that we're very modular, which speaks to the flexibility and ability to customize our solutions. So I think in terms of differentiation on the collaboration side, Shell and IBM bring hundreds of years of experience between them. So IBM obviously being the technology partner, an established player in AI platform integration. They also facilitate the kind of workshop ways of working with the customer. We utilize the IBM Garage methodology. And Shell, of course, has sort of a similar value chain to extractive industries like mining. So we have understanding there. And I think further than that, when you collaborate with the customer, we bring that expertise, but also if you compare to perhaps some of the other up and coming solutions, we have that expertise, but we're agile because we are, sort of a venture build. We have global scale through the partnerships that we have. We have access to technology in the market. So if we don't have it in our portfolio, we can go and find new partners. And we really are customizable in terms of the integration into existing dashboards or ERP systems that the customer has. And we're able to ingest really any kind of data, and we can ensure the quality of that data is as needs to be. And we can implement actual digitization strategies, like for instance, if you don't have sensors in place or if they're not calibrated properly, we have providers for that. We work with drone companies, so we really cover the full value chain.
Sounds like a fascinating prospect for lots of players in the sector. Tarja, thank you very much for joining us.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.